the nuggets, the seeds of literacy, which teachers and families and friends taught me, made me, and I'm pulling out it again. I pulled that out and going, okay, let me get out. How do I get out? Oh, homeless shelter. Go to the library, not be on the streets or on the highway begging for money. I'd be in the St. Louis library.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me on Literacy Journeys with Linda. Mr. DeWayne Love, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Mitchell. It's an honor to be here.
And I know 3 things about you: that you were in the Marines, that you were homeless, that you were an alcoholic. Can you talk about those things?
Yes, ma'am. First off, like I said before, thank you for the opportunity. Yes, I was all those things, and I'm even more.
Okay.
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, University City in particular, and literacy has been a big part of my life, even until now. In the beginning, both my parents, my mother graduated from South Carolina Nursing School, so she had medical textbooks and American Society books, magazines downstairs, and we have a little library, bookshelf with all that material. My father had World Book, and we did the World Book, Encyclopedias, Britannica, and every year you get the year-end review, and can we get it next year? No, you only getting 1972. We ain't getting all of them, and just that culture of having material to read, books in particular. And on Sundays, my dad's a big avid newspaper reader, so after church we'd come home, have dinner, and he would read the Sunday paper, which I still do to this day. I read stuff now, and I did when I was growing up, that interests me.
Sure.
It was never, even the math books, the calculus book, those interest me. So, and that was birthed in the culture my parents provided for me and my other siblings.
Sounds like both of your parents were readers, and you had books in the home.
Yes, ma'am. Even now to this day, I value and I make time to read something that interests me. Out of that birth that my family put in me, my parents and my family extended as well as everything. I remember a teacher telling me to read this. It's interesting, you're going into this field, read this. Yeah, that I still do today.
Yeah, because people will give you recommendations.
Yes.
In fact, what did you showed me a book one time. Hey, Miss M, have you read this book? And it wasn't part of your class. I know you're a student, but it was just an interesting book, like on the New York Times.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping.
Exactly, that's exactly what it was. Yeah,
yes, ma'am.
It was not part of your coursework, but
right.
So you've always been a reader like that.
Yes, ma'am. Some people are fiction, and no, I don't do fiction. I do autobiographies, biographies, knowledge-based books, so I can gain. I'm not too much on the fiction. Because I'm a person that sees something on TV and go, I want to know the backstory.
Sure.
When I remember one of the first books, in my youth, wanting to read some of the Profiles in Courage.
Oh, yes, by Kennedy.
By President JFK,
yes.
our 35th president.
Yes.
And also Alex Haley.
Roots.
And not just looking at the movie, going back after the miniseries.
Sure.
And reading, going back and reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, which Alex Haley,
He wrote that, yeah.
So that's how I embrace literacy, reading and writing to
That's
such
okay. What was your path after high school?
Path after high school. It's a long path, winding path.
What was your next step after you graduated from high school?
Before I start that, I have to give kudos and acknowledgement to one of my teachers that put me on this path even more. I use what she taught me even now as far as reading and writing. Miss Wallace was my 6th grade teacher, and she made a joy for reading. But she said, when reading, make it fun and not drudgery. Hey, write a book report on every book you read that's significant to you. I still do that today. I would read a book, The Mere Christianity, and a book about Coach John Wooden.
Wait a minute, DeWayne, these are more than one page.
Yes.
I mean, you went in depth in writing a report. These are detailed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
So what I did after high school, I wanted to grow up to be a catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. That was my first choice.
And you played baseball in high school?
Yes, ma'am. And second choice was being a news reporter. I went to the University of Missouri, Columbia, Mizzou, and walked on to the football team there.
Wait, you switched from baseball to football?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, my love is it's just like Michael Jordan, you know, his love is baseball, but he's good at basketball. My love was baseball. I would love to play baseball, but circumstances and situations happened where I couldn't play. I went to Mizzou, and reading gets you in. You know, reading and writing in the correct format, the proper format, got me into the University of Missouri, and I could have went anywhere that I applied to college, and that is a testament for all those educators that helped me pique my interest on reading a subject when you go.
Yeah, and you remember their names. That's interesting. Yeah,
yes.
It's powerful when teachers have that impact on you.
Yes, ma'am. And so that was a testament to them that every college, I say this to kids that I mentor now, the colleges I applied to, I all got accepted. From University of Missouri, University of Southern California, Washington University, Howard University, and Raleigh. So I go to the University of Missouri in Columbia, and that reading got me there, but reading didn't keep me there.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So you go up there and my freshman year, I don't want to get up and go to class, and I don't want to take the hard classes because I got 14 hours, and they say don't take, you know. So I'm thinking freshman year, I'm taking an easy class, African American Studies.
Something that interests you, you can relate to.
But I got a C in the class. So that was the tipping point of my lax in going reading. What's the point? Then I fell into drinking. I exacerbated that and alcoholism. So literacy has played a big part of my life, bad and good, but I'm forever grateful for it. So I was looking in the military. I did research. So and research, which I learned from having the books up on the wall from Miss Wallace, from all Miss Dempsey at church, at the church I attended to when I was growing up. All these people telling me this is how you get ahead. You have to do research, which is a part of literacy. So I go, I've been in the military. I did research and said, I want to be the best. I chose the United States Marine.
There you go.
And I did research on them. And the research to say, hey, is this a good fit? I read and did research. And I read on this one particular chapter in the history of the Montford Point Marines. And I said, not only want to be the best, I want to follow after their footsteps. Because of the history, not only the history, but literacy has brought me to that point of research, write it down, doing all of this, the books up on the wall, the Bibles and all, the culture that my parents created for me led me up to this moment of studying where I wanted to be, that dream that I had at that particular point. So I went to Paris Island, South Carolina, and earned the title of the United States Marine. So I was in the Marine Corps and honorably served our country since the first Gulf War.
Thank you for your service. There you go.
You're welcome.
You survived.
Yes.
I'm curious about in the military how literacy plays a part in the military. What if you've got a young kid coming into the military and he or she can't read? Can they make it through all those manuals and training?
No, and this is the reason I say no. And it's personally for me. Before I enlisted or went to boot camp in the Marine Corps, so you have to say the oath of office, the oath of enlistment.
Yeah.
To protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
You'll never forget it, will you?
No, ma'am. For me personally, having that background, I gotta read all this. Well, I want to know what I'm reading. I want to know what I'm getting into. Okay, let's go back to research mode.
Oh, wow.
Which I learned and mustered and all that. If I didn't have all of this, then what I just said to you wouldn't make the impact it did for me then to get me through all the manuals, to get me through my general orders, to get me through the war material, the training material that we as Marines.
See, that's what I'm thinking. I think that material's got to be.
But if I didn't, so that's why I say that's the most important. If I didn't understand what I was reading when they said, you got to do this before you get a haircut and all this, before we ship you off to Burns Island, and they got all of us in the room, you see, raising their hands.
So you just said a word, understand.
For me, it impacted when I had to read that, and it still stays with me today. That's why once a Marine, always a Marine. For me.
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
That makes it more significant for me the day that I said the oath of office, and it led me on that Marine Corps journey.
Well, let's talk about the next phase of your life. You're out of the Marines now. What happened after that?
That part of my life had ended a couple of months after we left Iraq, the Middle East, in 1991. But then my physical addictions still manifested to the point of blowing up in Southern California.
You're talking about the alcohol?
Yes, ma'am. It started, and I don't begrudge anybody from drinking. I just can't drink.
You went too far.
I didn't know that I knew in the books of the resource material I did by doing my research and having my book report why I went too far. Because I can't control my drinking. I did the binge drinking. I did the drinking one. I switched from one liquor brand to another, the beer brand, and I did that. But until I got to my research, till I did all the things that I was taught, I didn't know why I drank. That was my burden to bear, is alcoholism.
So what were the consequences for you? I know you said you were homeless, or what happened?
Yes, ma'am. I was even going that route in California. Alcohol has gotten me to the place where I was on Skid Row, a stint on Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles. I came back to St. Louis, tail between my legs, wounded, because you always go home. You get out of the military, you go through a process, and they court Marines, the Secret Service, the FBI, the Treasury Department, all these agencies, big agencies in the government, they court us Marines. Something in my past, because of the training I had in the back of being good with numbers. Okay. I learned that from reading the accounting books that my aunt had down in Memphis, which we used to have to go. Oh, you're going to see your people down in Memphis for 2 weeks out of the year, 2 weeks out of the summer to connect with them. Yeah, so they take us down to Memphis, and my aunt worked for one of the first and successful Black CPA firms in Memphis. In her living room, we had books, accounting books, stat books, textbooks. And she had, I remember this, she had adding machine, the old school adding machine. And I would go there and be riveted by that adding machine and seeing the black numbers, the red numbers, and so that seed, that nugget, that seed that was implanted in me as I'm doing my literacy of finding out, because I read stuff that it interests me. Not just because you got to do this. It's like, okay, let me read about accounting. Morphed into, I'm sitting there when I get out of the military, and all these agencies call. You can be in the Secret Service, you can be FBI, all this, and the Treasury Department came. I remember it was the last big agency that came to court us. You can work for the IRS. So I came back to St. Louis and applied and worked for the Treasury Department, Internal Revenue Service. And the same old problems I didn't deal with, the same old core issue that I didn't deal with while I was in the Marine Corps, while I was at Mizzou.
You reared its ugly head again, the alcohol?
Yes, ma'am. So that led to a lot of ramifications financially. But I found myself, after the IRS, found myself in a place of being homeless in St. Louis. So I didn't find myself homeless. I put myself homeless because of pride. Literacy, the training allowed me to research why I do what I do. Until I found out why I do what I do, just not because people dictate what I should do, then I wasn't a victim.
But you said you put yourself in that.
Yes, ma'am. The nuggets, the seeds of literacy, which teachers and families and friends taught me, made me, and I'm pulling out it again. I pulled that out. I'm going, okay, let me get out. How do I get out? Oh, homeless shelter. Go to the library, not be on the streets or on the highway begging for money. I'd be in the St. Louis Library.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because
yes, ma'am.
I know you spent a lot of time in libraries. Tell me about that.
Yes, ma'am.
And you didn't have a job. Tell me about what
No,
you were doing. What were you doing at the library?
What do you? This is the culture of being homeless. I can only speak for St. Louis, but it's the culture of being homeless. You find a shelter. They shoo you out at 5:30, 6 o'clock, depending on the time frame, with something in your belly. Apple, all of this, and you just wonder. So your goal as a homeless person to make it to the next meal, lunchtime, because you got all this stuff. Right? You do odd jobs, or people hang out in parks. You see people hanging out in parks. You see what the homeless people are doing in your area. I didn't do that because I had a seed of part of literacy being, reading books that made me feel like I'm better than that. I'm doing this. Living homeless, and you still have that principle that people put in the back of you. So I would go to the St. Louis Library downtown, which is a beautiful facility.
Yes, it is.
Wait, I got 2 hours before Larry Rice opened to get a bologna sandwich. Let me go in here in the research section of the library. That was peaceful. Literacy saved me again through that process. I'm sleeping, until Larry Rice without being shooed off. That was in St. Louis.
So, because the library was a familiar, comfortable place for you.
Yes. And through progression, me and a friend walked to this place called Genesis 2 down in South St. Louis. And we walked in the back door of this place called Genesis 2. It's not the kicker. As a young man, ready to serve, we go, how long before this? Well, they're doing service. They're doing service, and they'll be in about 15 minutes. This young man named Matt was sitting on the stool reading his newspaper. I said, okay, I guess I go outside. I said, he said, you want to read the newspaper? Literacy saved me again.
Well, that was a favorite thing that you did, read the newspaper growing up.
But he didn't know that. I've been to Larry Rice, I've been to Peter and Paul's, and they do a good organization, but I said to him, it's spiritual because no one gave me a newspaper or magazine or something to read to hold my time.
So that triggered something?
I triggered a lot. Not saying those other agencies didn't, it's a spiritual thing. I went there for the physical, for all the other things, but when you just know, I just knew at that particular time. Hey, man, you can wait over here. Oh, while you wait, here, read this newspaper.
And what happened?
That's a long...
Well, give me the short story. What happened from there?
No, it was a long process. I'll give you the short version of reconnecting back to the faith, moving up to Collinsville, Illinois, where the home church, Sunlight Church, was sponsoring Genesis 2 and meeting a whole group of people that I now call family. So, through all that stuff, I moved over to Collinsville and met family, reconnected with family. Through the literacy, the seeds of literacy, Ryan and Reed, that my natural family birthed into me. So out of that, and like you said before, the library has been a part of my life. I have to go back. My mother and father were instrumental. My mother, one summer after, after junior high school, no, it was junior high. She said, well, what am I going to do for the summer? What we going to do today, because this is like the second week, you on the couch, is you going to get your butt, you got to edit this, butt up, you going to go with me to the library and get your library card. So ever since then, every major city I've spent a period of time in over 6 months, I went to the library and got a library card. I got a library card from Orange County, Los Angeles County, Downey, California, then all the major, Downey, California, Irvine, California, St. Louis, City and County, Collinsville.
Yeah. So let's talk about Collinsville Public Library and what you were doing there and how that led you to the position that you're in now, working for your dream company.
I mean, I'm come over here in a new area, unfamiliar, because I didn't grow up here. I'm from Missouri. As Mitchell, you're from Illinois. I'm sorry to say. I'm a baseball fan. She's
Okay.
Chicago.
Any Chicago team. All right, I'm gonna edit all this out.
No, you're not.
Go Cubs, White Sox, Bears, Bulls, all of them. I didn't even know what a Cardinal was till I came down here.
Having the same struggles, just different locations of when I was homeless, finding a job, and I need to find a gainful employment. Well, I mean job. So I reverted back to what I knew I had to do to find myself in a better position. Research, read up on the jobs. Now I'm recognizing, since I've acknowledged my sin that God had me on, alcoholism, I'm dealing with it, I'm trying to do the right thing, the next right thing. That being said, that morphed into the library. I walk in there and I honestly tell the individual, what I'm doing, I'm job seeking. And through doing it right and being honest with myself and honest with them, because I used to,
exceed your time limit.
Yes. Instead of the hour, we know you got resumes and doing all this, just stay on that. When you're done, just,
Some good favor.
So that favor has morphed into, now they came out with the laptops and you're only supposed to take them, over here they allowed me the freedom of the whole library. It took me 8 years to find the job that I had.
8 years. I mean, I remember you would go to the library.
That's right.
Very disciplined about it, and it took you 8 years to find that job that you're now in. So where are you now? Where
am I now? Through all of that, I found, and through being diligent, not because of the upbringing and all of this, it's where literacy has taken me to the place of me following the right path, me doing the right thing. Literacy got me, on the subject of literacy. So I found a dream job. Our father took us, and he worked for Anheuser-Busch, retired from Anheuser-Busch. So me and my older sibling, me and my sister of the age, he took us in the car to go. You're gonna learn about money where I work, so we're gonna go over here and you're trying to instill financial, we're gonna buy some stock. I'm gonna have some stock for you. We went into a place, a company, went in and purchased. I got one certificate of stock. My sister got one. The physical certificates of stock from Stifel Nicholas. Through the literacy that my parents and everybody has instilled me, allowed me to find myself looking diligently in the Collinsville Library for a job that I've had all the experience, military, Mizzou, all that experience, and allowed me to, unbeknownst to me, have somebody from Stifel Nicholas going on 6 years ago call me and say, hey, we have a position, would you like to do? And that whole process. And I don't even remember sending out the resume to Stifel Nicholas, because,
You sent out so many.
You sent out so many. And I remember the ones I want to. Oh, I want to work for McDonald's. Oh, I want to work for Anheuser-Busch. Oh, I want to work for Montana. Those,
Talk about full circle.
And I get Stifel Nicholas call. I don't even remember the plan with him. And go through that whole process to where I am now. And that has helped me.
And you were, I don't remember your title, I'm sorry. At Stifel, it's...
I work in operations and financial analyst.
Financial analyst.
Yes, ma'am. At Stifel Nicholas and Company. downtown St. Louis.
Look
So,
at that, DeWayne.
but I sit here and think and meditate on how I got here. Yes, the books are great, and the knowledge, the experience, teaching of it, but all of that morphed back, and even the big book of Alcoholism refers me back to the big book, which has always been there, part of my life. It's amazing that I found every book that interested me was a form of the Bible in that it had a thread of the Bible in the author's perception of writing or how you presented a particular story. So this journey of literacy is not so much for me. Me as DeWayne Love, I had people to show me that there was a Bible, people that taught me how to read the Bible and understand it to such a manner that I do stuff I like, to the people, to me now, having the Bible and understanding and trusting His Word now.
Well, I want to close with one more thing. You're involved in a very great work, and that's Juvenile Diversion, which is where these young kids, men and women, are going astray, but with Juvenile Diversion, they can be put back on a righteous path. And I know you're probably aware that in prison, 70% of our prison population is illiterate. So that tells me that if you've got a young person maybe out of despair, lack of access, they can't read or write, so what am I going to do? I'm going to turn to crime. I mean, I don't know. What is your message? Can you close by telling these young kids in juvenile diversion, how can literacy help them reading and writing?
We live in a broken world.
Yes.
Literacy can be a part of that, of breaking those barriers down. And I try to do that on a level that they understand. Not talk above them, not talk to them, but try to express with them the benefits of learning to read and write if they don't know how to. What literacy mean? Reading and write. I try to tell my story.
Yes.
But telling them they can say, I checked out when my father said, don't do that. Well, why, Dad? Don't do that. Do it, until I experience it. I think the biggest thing for us at Juvenile Diversion is not telling them that they can. Tell our stories in such a manner that they know the consequences of their actions. I found this quote out of that I try to live by because I have to read it or I'll butcher it. It's from the book Coach Wooden, The 7 Principles That Shaped His Life and Will Change Yours by Pat Williams. Mm-hmm. And in the chapter, which I did, and what it meant to me, the author quotes Charles Jones, and it says, on one Father's Day, he wrote a letter to his 9-year-old grandson, Sammy, and his message to Sammy is one that you and I should take to heart. Read, read, read. A proper diet is good for your body, and the best books are good for your mind. Read biographies, read autobiographies, histories. Books will provide many of the friends, mentors, role models, and heroes you will need in life. Biographies will help you see that there is nothing that can happen to you that wasn't experienced by many who used their failures and tragedies and disappointments as stepping stones to a more tremendous life. Mm-hmm. Many of my best friends, and I echo with this, many of my best friends people I've never met, Oswald Chambers, George Mueller, Charles W., A.W. Tozer, Abraham Lincoln, Malcolm Gladwell, President Kennedy, Alex Haley, or just to name a few. Mm-hmm. And it says God's greatest gift for our time on this earth is His Word. And it also, into another quote, books are our friends, and our best friend of all is the Bible. In its pages, we find not only insight and knowledge, but also comfort for the soul. Throughout your life, in good times and hard times, heed the counsel of Joshua A. Wooden, that was Coach Wooden's father, and he gave that to his son, Coach Wooden, drink deeply from good books, especially the Bible. this whole journey of literacy, Mr. Mitchell, is not it's reconnected me to what was true in the old, what is the truth in the oldest living text known to man. And it all my 50 plus years and me falling up, it's helped me reconnect to the truth, the Bible.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your literacy journey.
Thank you for the opportunity, Ms. Mitchell. You and your family have impacted me more than you know. So I thank you for the honor and it's a privilege.
It's a privilege for me as well to know you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching Literacy Journeys with Linda. I was privileged to have Mr. DeWayne Love as my guest today. If you like these journeys, if you like hearing about these literacy journeys, please subscribe to my channel, Literacy is Liberation. Please leave a comment below in the description. And let me know by sending me an email if I should talk to you. So thank you again. We'll see you next time.